Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We'll make a start. As we begin, my name is Shane Pears. I'm the Assistant Principal of Junior School, and with me I've got Tracy Deasy, the Head of Year 7. I suppose the format for tonight, we're just going to go through a PowerPoint. We'll try not to make it death by PowerPoint for you. We'll hopefully have a bit of interaction. If you've got any questions, by all means, just feel free to call those out and we'll address those as we go through. I do just also acknowledge the parents who are part of this via the live stream. So as we do, being a Catholic school, we will just begin with our college prayer. So for those who aren't aware, we've been here for 87, 88 years. A couple of years ago, we pulled together a college prayer that will sort of unite the boys and give them a sense of understanding of who we are. And by doing so, we acknowledge Brendan, we acknowledge the traditional founder of the Christian Brothers, Edmund, and we also acknowledge Christ. So we begin in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, grant me the courage of St. Brendan, to journey beyond the familiar and into the unknown. The conviction of Blessed Edmund to liberate the marginalised. The compassion of Christ to go forth love, and the faith not to doubt that it will be given. Amen. St. Brendan, pray for us. Our Lady of Perpetual Help, pray for us, and we live Jesus in our hearts forever. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Throughout the course of the night, Tracy and I will just sort of step in at different points. We're happy to just answer questions depending upon who can best answer that. We'll just tag team. I might hand over to Tracy now just to kick it off. Thanks, Tracy.
I would encourage you tonight to take photos of the screen as we go through. That way it'll save you having to watch it back, or if there is one slide in particular that I will say please take a photo of. But these are our contact details for both Shane and I. You're better off getting us on email. We did have an email glitch earlier on, but that is now sorted, and I would always say to you, if we don't answer you within a few days, just give us a ring and go, please. Sometimes days are busier than others, but if you don't get an answer within a few days, just give us a call, leave a message, and then we'll know to go back and check whatever we might have missed. But I suppose tonight, there is a lot of information, and I apologise for it being a PowerPoint presentation, but I thought it was really important that we all gathered just to try and understand what's going on and how things work here at high school. So I'm going to talk about our curriculum, I'm going to talk about words we use here, I'm going to talk about uniforms, I'm going to talk about NAPLAN and a variety of other things, but I'm going to start with our curriculum. So you are aware as parents, you are going to get a report card each and every term. They will come out during the holidays because we need to have time to be able to do some marking. So Easter, for example, you'll get that the first week back because it's a short little holiday period. But in term 1 and term 3, we're going to give you a snapshot result. That's going to tell you exactly where your son is sitting, and it's going to tell you how he's going in the classroom, whether he's bringing his gear, whether he's asking questions, whether or not he's completing his homework, all of that type of information. In term 2 and term 4, and you get these report cards before the staff go on holidays, you'll actually get a comment that has written comments on it. So you will know exactly what he is achieving in and what is a couple of areas that he might need to be able to improve in during that period of time. So the big thing about moving to high school, and we have a shortened calendar here at St Brendan's College, because we give you an extra couple of weeks holiday a year, so your son will have assessment up until the last day of term, which is very different to primary schools. And I certainly know as a teacher, it is a little bit cheaper to go on holidays the week beforehand. Unfortunately, that means your son will miss out on some assessment. So this week you would have been emailed a very large document. And these are what we are calling our learning guides. So you will have a guide for each subject that your son will do in term 1. You're also going to have them for subjects he's not necessarily doing just yet. So in these learning guides, it is there as a guide. So if for some reason he's sick or you need to travel for something, you can have a look and go, oh, in week 3, they were planning on covering these things in class. So it also gives you a chance as a parent to, when you're saying, what did you do for the day? And he goes, oh, not much, didn't do much. You can go, well, tell me in maths, you were doing area of a circle, how are you going with that? So it's just a way that you can frame some questions as well. This is a new thing that we are doing this year, so I would really love your feedback on how you think this has helped you with the term. We're going to try it across the whole year, and eventually we're going to roll it out to more than just Year 7. Some of your older sons, if you have them, their teachers will be giving them this as they're going, as a bit of a trial. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what they do in each subject, because I know coming from primary school, that's one thing that you were aware of, and at high school, it's a little bit different, so we don't always get a chance to talk about the curriculum. If you want to take a photo, you are more than welcome to, because I will not read everything on there for you. But religion is based over the 4 terms, and religion is an online subject. So religion is run through our Teams platform. He won't need a book for that. All right, everything is delivered electronically, including our exams. We run our exams in religion in a Part A and a Part B, and then in Term 3, we actually get them to create a movie, and then we're doing these exams. The reason this has become an online subject is because it's really easy and it gets the boys used to using the different technologies. So as they progress through school and we are seeing more and more turn digital, it gives your son a chance to practice with that technology. Moving on to English. English has got some exams, some assignments, some performance elements. It's got a wide variety. The electronic platform that we use, and you will see your son using for homework, is called Literacy Planet. Literacy Planet is it's a game-based style of learning. So on Literacy Planet, the teacher will generally assign some things that your son will need to do. So as an example, when we do our poetry unit in Term 3, he'll be doing lots of activities on all the different figurative language. There's also an element to Literacy Planet that even once he's done those assigned tasks, he's able to continue on with his learning. The program is intuitive, so it will challenge him as he is starting to get better with it. As a rule in English, we say, hey, you need to do about 15 to 20 minutes worth of homework, and it's all based in here. The game element comes in when you've done enough work, you get enough gems to be able to buy your character a hat and set up all these different things, and then you get to play a few games. It's something the boys really like, and we are finding is certainly supporting their learning. We move on to humanities. We have that as a split subject. So for a semester, your son will do geography or your son will do history. And during that time, there'll be midterm exams, end of term exams, and then an assignment, which is either for geography, which is a map, and in history, he will participate in an oral presentation. So our humanities, so you'll get one comment for geography, and the next semester you will get a history comment. Moving through to maths. Maths is one of those subjects that you're always going to have exams for. We do a midterm exam, so about that week 5, 6 mark, and then again at the end of term. Generally speaking, maths is one of our last kind of exams that happens before holidays. We also have an electronic platform that runs with maths called MathSpace. You will see your son use that. Your teacher will tell you where you can be working, and it's all mapped to what they're learning in the curriculum. The really cool thing about MathSpace is, especially as a parent, when I need to double check because I have daughters who are using this, when I need to double check what my daughter's Year 10 maths is, they've got a lovely little AI assistant there that helps me make sure I'm helping her do the right thing. So you're able to get that little bit of one-on-one help to be able to work through your maths program. Science is another one of our core subjects, and again, we've got end-of-term exams. Science is a reasonably hands-on subject, but your son will have an electronic textbook that he will also find some homework in. Your teachers will take you through how to log into those textbooks and what they need to be working on and reading. But there's also a chance that if you are starting to think over, towards the end of the term or over the holidays that you might need to do some reading, you know what's coming up, and having that textbook just gives you that extra little help. So they were our core subjects, and then we run into what we call elective subjects. So elective subjects we've got broken down into semester-long subjects and term-long subjects. So for a semester, he will do HPE. He will either do that in semester 1 or semester 2. And we've got Man Arts, which is woodwork and metalwork, or we call it industrial technology design now. And that is the same, that will run for 1 semester. Our term-long subjects only go for that 10-week period, and your son will do all of the semester-long subjects and all of the term-long subjects. So he'll do a term in agriculture, a term in contemporary ensemble or classroom music, a term in digital technologies, and a term in art. We do have a different option which takes your son out of some electives, and that is the concert band. So if you believe your son should be in the concert band, make contact with us, and he will miss some of those electives depending on where the lines sit and as they change. So they will all be reported on the report card as well as all of our core subjects. This brings me to what study looks like at high school. It's quite different from primary school, and I can tell you that your sons will be getting homework. Generally speaking, they're going to be a weekly task. There will be times where the teacher will say this needs to be a quick turnaround, but certainly in English, certainly in maths, certainly in religion, they have a whole week to complete it, because we are acutely aware that everybody is busy, the boys are busy, so we need to fit it into your schedule. I will say though that home learning is very different to homework. So home learning is where we start to build those study skills. So whilst they might sit down and do 15 minutes of homework on a Monday night, I would be encouraging your son to then do another 10, maybe 15 minutes of home learning. And those home learnings can be a variety of different activities. So it can be going back over his notes, summarising important information, learning new words or creating little glossaries so he can understand what the different terms mean and how they can be used. He can also do what we like to call pre-reading. So if you know that in science you are learning about a Bunsen burner, go and find some more information about a Bunsen burner, so that will help you to understand what's happening in class. We've got all of our electronic subscriptions that once he's completed his homework, he can continue to do some home learning in that space. We are a massive advocate of having your son read, whether it be reading to you something from the newspaper, whether it be reading a recipe or reading a novel. The more he reads, the better he's going to have an understanding here at school. We do also run a detention policy for missed homework. You will be notified as parents. You will get a notification through our app. However, for Year 7, this probably isn't going to start until about week 5. So we want to be able to get them into it. You might start getting emails from teachers saying, hey, we've set some homework, he hasn't done it. And just to give you and him a chance to work out exactly where and what and how everything is going to work. That detention will happen at second break. So there is an element of playtime that does get missed. So we find we get homework starts to happen a little bit faster. This brings me to our eSmart. So we have signed the boys up to an Alana and Madeline Foundation. So Alana and Madeline Foundation is founded by a father after the Port Arthur massacre, and he decided that it was his job to keep children everywhere safe. So in doing this, this foundation has created some online safety modules. These safety modules, there are 4 of them that we would encourage your son to do. Most of them have completed number 1, and we will be unlocking 2, 3, and 4 over the next couple of weeks. This is just a platform, because now he's carrying a laptop all day, he's working on it in a variety of different classes. It's just some really positive little tips on how to keep safe in line. You know, what happens if someone talks to me online if I don't need to be doing it. I would encourage you as parents to actually work through this with your son. I know with all of the social media changes, this is still really valid because there are other platforms where people can make contact. And as you can see, our modules covered, you know, how to talk nicely online, how to protect ourselves against cyber threats and scams, and how to engage and be empathetic online with other people. So over the next couple of weeks, your son will hopefully start talking to you about what he's doing in these modules. assessment and exams. So at high school, we have some very different language that we use here. When your son has an assignment, we like to build in at least 2 checkpoints. So we have a monitoring date. That's normally pretty close to just after the task has been handed out. It might be as simple as decide on what you want to do your assignment on, or find a little bit of information about it. And that's our nice little checkpoint to go, oh, you might need to get a bit more work done, or good on you, you've done it. Then it comes to conferencing. Conferencing is a few days, maybe a week before due date. Conferencing is the checkpoint where you will be notified if your son has not completed enough work. So at that point in time, generally speaking, we're expecting a whole assignment, or we're expecting 3/4 of it as they start to move through the school. At that point in time, if your son hasn't done enough work, we will issue him with a detention, and that will give him an extra hour after school to get some assignment work done. And you, again, will be notified of that, and we're very flexible at negotiating days to work around travel and all of that when it comes time to should he need to be here after school. Then our final submission date is due date. It's at due date, that is what we mark. If your son doesn't hand in on due date, the teacher will actually mark the work from conferencing. Having been in this process for a significant number of years now, conferencing, I've never seen a kid blitz it at conferencing and get an amazing result at due date. Because once we've done the conferencing, the teacher's actually going to write notes on how you can make it better. And that way he's got some time from conferencing to due date to fix it up. Another word that we use here at high school is exam. And I know a lot of primary schools talk about tests and quizzes and check-ins. Unfortunately here, we just use the term exam. Our exams and times and dates of the test. Sometimes we can have exams go for more than 1 lesson. So when we're looking at our religion exams, that goes over 2 lessons. So they do part A one day, part B on another day. When we're looking at some English exams, they go over a couple of lessons, because if we're asking them to write a larger response, they need time to plan, draft, check it, and finalise it. My biggest tip is that once you know where to find everything on your parent lounge, is that you create the term planner that sits on the fridge. I take your boys through how to make these planners, and I will give them one that gets put in their team. But in term 2, it's vital. You will need to sit down with your son and go, when is this due? When is our conferencing date? Because a lot of work in term 2 is where we do go to assignments. So this is help we have available. We are really fortunate here that we have got some staff who are so giving of their time. We run a study hub session, which runs out of our learning support department, and all of our education support officers, or the teacher aides, who are much, much nicer than us as teachers, offer their time to work with the boys. The boys absolutely love being there, but it is not a one-on-one tutoring service. If you are looking for a one-on-one tutoring service, we would encourage you to look outside of the school. In this study hub, they can catch up on homework. If they've been away sick for a few days, I would always say, hey, pop into the homework club. You can go to homework club before you go to footy training. You can duck in there, get it done. On a personal note, when my 3 children go to the homework club, it is the best night in my house, because nobody has to talk about have you done your maths. Nobody has to talk about have you finished this. We just get to have a night off. I would encourage every one of your sons to attend 1 or 2 times over the term, just to experience it and to get ahead in his work. We also run tutorials. So these tutorials are often subject specific. So the English faculty and the humanities faculty, they run one every single Wednesday afternoon, and they run it out of the library. So if you know that you need help with something in geography, history, or English, you can go there, and a teacher who teaches those subjects will be there to give your son absolute gold advice. We also run a significant number of interest clubs, and all the timings for these clubs are all available in our newsletters, apps, and in our notices that the boys get. The reason I don't have a list for you tonight is because they're not yet finalised. The interest clubs also run a lot on what the staff want to be running. So as an example, one interest club that will start running in week 6 is the musical. So that will run on a Wednesday afternoon, and then we also do a Saturday rehearsal. Our 3D printers run a 3D printing club that runs at a different time. So we've got lots and lots of different interests. Mr. Oram, who runs the cattle club, he runs that at a time, and all of that information you will be able to find. Shane, I might throw to you and have a quick drink of water, and you can talk about our behaviour here.
Thanks, Trace. Are there any questions so far before I continue on with the behaviour? Just a point of note, the PowerPoint, we will put that through as a PDF and send that out to families after tonight. So you're welcome to take photos, but you don't need to. So here at the college, we have the responsible thinking process. Hopefully you boys don't know too much about it yet. It's only week 3. However, what that does is that enables the teachers within the classes to ensure that the learning's taking place. So we can't force students to learn, but what we can say is that students don't have the right to impact the learning of students around them. So if boys are displaying behaviours that are indicative of not learning and distracting others, the teacher will, in the first instance, ask them a set of questions. And whether your son is in year 7 or year 12, the questions are the same. The questions are around allowing the student to think about their behaviour and to reflect on what they need to do in order to stay in that learning environment. So from there, the boys have a choice and they continue on with their work. If those behaviours present throughout that lesson, the boys make their way to the responsible thinking classroom. Now, when they go there, the teacher will, in most cases, have already logged through our system the reason they're there, and the student will work through a process. Now, that process will allow them to reflect on what behaviours they were showing in order to be where they now are, and what they need to do in order to be an effective member back in that class. So they will spend the remainder of that lesson in the responsible thinking room, and in that time they will negotiate, they'll write a plan, and they'll negotiate that at some point, hopefully between the lesson they were sent and the next time that that class has a lesson. The teacher and the student will come to an understanding of what needs to happen in order for the boy to return to that class, and that is essentially the responsible thinking process. The student will receive a detention to catch up on the work that's missed whilst he was out of that learning space. So that happens, and occasionally some boys might visit that room more than once. And when that happens, that's when, in the first instance, Tracy will have a conversation with that student around what's happening for these behaviours to continue, and he may be placed on a monitoring card. Okay, so in the first instance, the student may receive a blue card. Okay, and what that does is that just enables all of his teachers to be reflecting on his behaviour and giving some feedback back to Tracy so she can review and sign that blue card every afternoon, just see how he's tracking, and it just invites that conversation if there are some behaviours that are starting to pop up. That monitoring card typically would last for 1 week. And in the rare occasion that we have some students that continue to make poor choices in this process, they might find themselves on a red card. And a red card just means that I'll monitor that. And generally speaking, the conversations are getting more serious. We're starting to sort of delve into how we can support your student, but also your son, but also look to see whether this is the school for him. And inevitably, the boys who are on the red cards need to bring that to me every afternoon, and we'll have the same conversations that Tracy would have had with them. So that's the process. The only caveat to that, I suppose, is there are some automatics. So sometimes your son might find themselves in the RTC. You'll be notified when that happens. You'll get a notification through our system to say that your son was sent to the RTC room today. Just like you would get a notification to say that maybe their uniform or their homework hasn't been completed that week. but sometimes there's also an automatic. So there are some behaviours that the teacher doesn't enter into that first set of questions. There are some things that can happen in the class where the best thing to do for the student and the safety of those around him is to remove him instantly, and we call those automatics. So they could take the form of maybe a violation in a workshop. So maybe your son might be down in the wood shop and he might be using a chisel in a way in which he could hurt himself or others. Maybe there's an outburst with some inappropriate language or threatening violence, those sorts of things. Okay, so sometimes the questions won't be asked, but it'll be in those situations that it'll be called an automatic. So that's the RTC process. Just moving on, we have... I struggle. I press the over. There we go.
What have you done? I just need
So
some
just, I did that
technical
for the prayer
support.
as well. We'll, So the boys learn the process, and inevitably the RTC process will often find that as the students go through the school, their RTC rates drop. Okay, so as the boys mature and they understand the system and know the process, they start to make choices that are beneficial for them in their learning, and you'll typically see that as they go through the year 9 and 10, we start to see as a whole cohort that data dropping down.
All right, the next part that we are talking about is uniforms. Tomorrow is photo day. Okay? Tomorrow, I promise you, I've got you. I will help your son get his tie neat and tidy. I'll make sure he doesn't have milkshake pie and tomato sauce all over his face. And I will promise you that his hair looks respectable. So don't stress about photo day, because our photos aren't taken until after we've eaten and played and probably gone to PE. So just pack the tie tomorrow morning, and I promise you will get a photo that you paid for that will hopefully you'll be very proud of. So when it comes to our uniform, we do have reasonably strict uniform guidelines. We expect your son to be wearing a hat all the time. Our hats have been designed that he can shove it in his pocket. And I beg of you, please, get his hat embroidered over the Easter holidays, because it is really, really hard to find an owner of a hat that doesn't have a name when 435 of them have lost one. So please, if you haven't got it done, pop it down to Seaside Embroidery. They do a lot of embroidery for the school. Just put his name on the back of it, or write it in like 5 different places in a really thick black marker that I can read. Day uniform is a term that we use a lot, which is just your green shirt, grey shorts, belt, socks, black shoes, and his hat. We also use the word formal uniform. Generally speaking, our formal uniform is going to involve our long pants, okay, and probably our tie. Sports uniform gets used, so PE shirt, PE shorts, socks, joggers, hat. And then we have another uniform called our house uniform, and that's where we wear our brightly coloured shirt with our PE shorts. So I can appreciate that there is a lot to learn when it comes to uniforms, but rest assured, the boys will have it all sorted. Term 1 and 4 is what we call our summer terms, and they do not need to wear their tie on that day. I will caveat that there are some special occasions. So last Friday when they got their badge, they wore their tie. Term 2 and Term 3, we wear our ties every single day. So by probably the end of week 1 of Term 2, your son is going to be an expert on how to put his tie on. We're also going to do a little bit of education about how to do some ties. I prefer the very simple one. Some of our older boys, our old boys on staff do a really fancy one. But so long as they're wearing a tie, there's no specific knot. But I promise you, I've got you tomorrow for photo day. If your son isn't in the right uniform or doesn't have his hat, again, you will get a PC notification. He can't go out into the sun, so he will be having to sit down where it's nice and shady, and then he's going to lose his second lunchtime until he remembers to bring his hat. my parent advice is please get 2 hats. One for him, one for the car. So when you arrive and we don't have a hat, he has a hat. So this is what your PC entry looks like. So it's been really hard. I've had to go back to last year to find some. So you're going to get a notification and it's going to say the teacher's name and that the teacher has put in a PC notification for your son's name at this time. All right, you are going then, if you have a pastoral care entry, see how it says up here, he received a detention for uniform and grooming. That's going to give you a bit of a clue on what it was. When you get, so the red one, generally speaking, you will need to contact the teacher that put that in. If you don't recognise that teacher, you are welcome to flick me an email and I can put you in touch with that teacher. So if he has been to the RTC, we call it a pastoral care entry. You are able to go and find it through your app. It'll just take a little bit of practice to get there. That brings me to the app. I'm really confident that nearly everybody has downloaded this app because this app gives us the shortcuts to be able to log into different things. The app also has those little red notification buttons. So if there is a notice, and quite typically some of our notices will come late. Last year we had an absolute ripper of a thunderstorm and it was not safe enough to let the boys out on time. So we made the call to go, let's keep everybody safe, and we pushed that notice through there. So I would encourage you to go on and make sure that you've got those alerts and those notifications coming. Another classic one is if a football team has forfeited and he's playing that afternoon, sometimes those notifications can come through quite late. So generally speaking, they are 9 times out of 10, the last minute ones are things that are out of our control. But using this app gives you shortcuts to your parent lounge, gives you your newsletter, calendar. If you're a boarding family, you've got your boarding information there. You can also log on to that app if your child is absent. We need you to tell us why your child is absent because we have to obviously send that data through. So you can do that here. If you don't do it for a couple of days, either admin's going to send you an email or I'll give you a call going, hey, he's been missing for a few days. So don't stress, we do try and catch you up, but it just makes it easy if you can log it yourself. You'll find all the key contacts. So my phone number's in there, my email address is in there, Shane. The director of rugby league will be in there. You're not going to find all of your teachers, you're only going to find those key people that hold those types of positions. That sport one, it will just, all your fixtures go in there, when your buses go, all of that type of stuff. And then there's another one for music, arts and clubs as well. As with all apps, you can go in and turn off notifications for what is and what isn't necessary for your son. If your son is not doing sport, for an example, you'll be able to turn off all the football ones and all of that. I'm pretty sure in the app you can also select your grade level as well. So I've spoken about that one. So that brings me to your parent lounge. Your parent lounge is your key to knowing pretty much everything as to what goes on here. This is where you can update your details, phone numbers, addresses, emergency contacts. If you are going away for a period of time and somebody else is looking after your son, just flick me an email and let me know, but you can also just go and change that contact in there so we know who that you can contact. All of our events and payments go through here. If anybody has come from St Benedict's and Sacred Heart, it's a very similar kind of process to that Parent Orbit Lounge. They're pretty close. You can pay your school fees in here. You can make all of your payments through here. It'll keep a tally for you so you know where you're at. They'll post your invoice and everything there. All of your extracurricular sign-ups to sports and all of those notifications and stuff will be there. So if you want to do Cattle Club, you go up, you sign your son up through there. You want to do musical, they all appear here. Your media permissions, which everybody has got done. It's also a place where you can check your son's assessment dates. And I would encourage all of you, because I know how hard it is to make appointments, and when you're trying to look ahead, obviously, if you've got a doctor's appointment, it just has to happen. We know that. But if you're starting to look at going, we might sneak off, for a birthday weekend, if you have a look there, that will tell you generally by about week 2, week 3 of the term what all those dates are going to be. You can book parent-teacher interviews through there. And my red hot tip is the day that email comes out, you need to book. If you book the day before parent-teacher interviews, chances are you're not going to get to speak to all of the teachers. So our parent-teacher interviews are run in term 2 and term 3. We go from 2 till 8 p.m. You do not have to come and talk to us in person. You just click the thing and we talk to you over the computer. So we can talk to our boarding families, we can talk to you at work on your break, we can talk to you if you're driving, we don't have to turn on cameras and all of that. So it's really flexible, and because of that, it fills up really, really quickly. I would encourage you, before parent-teacher interviews, if you are worried about your son, to reach out to that teacher. But that interview, they were able to tell you what they were doing and how they were going in the class. Accessing report cards. So we won't send you a physical report card. You'll need to log into your parent lounge and you will access the report card from there. You can print the report cards from there, download them, save them, all of that type of stuff. I would encourage you to start saving them, because once your child finishes year 12, you will lose access to that parent lounge as well. So my advice is to start saving them as you go. And we've got a really cool feature that you can check your son's task sheet. And I'll show you that in a minute. There's also a big resources page in there, and that tells you instructions for absolutely anything you could possibly want to do in that app. This is what it looks like when you log in. So you'll see your parent details up the front. That's where you change all of your stuff. The student details, calendar, accounts, all of that type of stuff. So you can see on my example here, we've got the words curricular activities due, and there's a little number 3. You can see the notices, so exactly what your son reads in the morning, you can see the same notices, and you can see all of the school calendar events. This is what your son sees as his, we call it his electronic diary. You can see that too. So if you are thinking, oh, I might, book a doctor's appointment on Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, he'll miss HPE. So you know where and what he's doing. So if your son is, maybe struggling in one class, you might choose to book an appointment outside of that class. It also puts in all of our events that are happening across the week, so you too can see what's going on. This here is the really important page, and it's the curricular activities. So the curricular activities pretty much means the things he's doing in school at that time. So you can see that this student here only has 2 activities that have been assigned to him. Your son will have a minimum of 1 for each subject. It's here when you start to dive down a bit further that you can see his due dates. So this student here, this is a grade 7 religious education exam that I have clicked into, and you click on it over here where it's got term 1 exam or term an assignment or a folio, and it brings up the details for you. It's important that you click on those details because it tells you that there are 2 parts to this exam. It also tells you who his teacher is, should you need to email that teacher. Obviously this child has completed this assessment because it's assessed and ticked. Once we have assessed it and entered the grades, you're able to see them as well. So, if your son's waiting patiently for results, you can also see those results come through relatively live. This here is an assignment task, and this is where I say you can actually see the task sheet. So when you click onto this, you can see down the bottom there's a thing called activity outline, and it tells you what your son needs to do. Over under the activity resources is a blue link. When you click that blue link, it will bring up our task sheet. Our task sheets are written in such a way that they have got what we call procedure points, and by going through each one of those points, it's a sequential order for him to be able to achieve the task. So being an English teacher, it's, pick the book that you're going to do your review on. Complete the chapter summaries. Pick your character. identify these things, write, this particular type of paragraph. So it gives you a chance to really be able to step through everything with your son. It's also a really great place for you to be able to have those conversations going, oh, have you picked your character, or have you decided what you are going to be working on? Then extracurricular. Extracurricular is things outside the classroom, so it's extra to our curriculum. And this is where you will sign up for all the exciting things that he wants to do. So this one here, futsal was available when I clipped this one, and your student's name will appear beside it, and you just go to the sign up now and you follow everything. You keep coming back to this one because as he does other extracurricular events, this is where he finds that. Absent from school and assessment. Being absent from school does become a problem. We aim that you are here 100% of the time. We know that in not all cases your son can be here every day, but that's where you need to notify us what's going on. If we start to see a lot of unexplained absences, you will also have that in your app. Okay, so we need to make sure that he's here in class learning because that's how he's going to achieve the best way he can. In the app, if your son is sick, you can attach a medical certificate there, or you can attach something that we might need. Obviously with illness, it is what it is, but we do say let's come to school as much as we possibly can. When we come to talking about assessment absences, it becomes a little bit different because we have what's called approved and what is called unapproved. So as an example, if you were travelling because you could book a cheaper flight and a hotel to start a holiday, whilst it's absolutely up to you to go, the school would call that an unapproved absence. So as a result of being an unapproved absence, your son will not get a result for that piece of assessment, and he will not then get a result for his semester because he hasn't completed enough work to get a result. If your son is ill, that's no problem. We give your son a not assessed. When he comes back, he completes that assessment. Not at Christmas time, we kind of call time on the year and we'll sort out grade 8 next year. And then we can go back and we can change his results. So in the interim, your report card will say not assessed, and then once we get that assessment done, we'll go back and get it through. I would encourage you, just send me an email, send Shane an email, give us a call and go, hey, we've got this coming up, what can we do? I really appreciate that coming into year 7, a lot of you will already have stuff booked. Unfortunately, this is where we have to say as absences sit, because the big problem is come grade 11 and 12, if your son misses an assessment, ultimately that means he might not get his ATAR, he might not qualify to get his certificate of education, and he might not be able to complete any certificates that he is enrolled in. This is a copy of the planner that I will give the boys next week. So this here, I have got every single piece of assessment that they will be doing for the term. Your son will not do every single one of these. Right? He will need to go through and he'll go, I'm in geography, and he'll highlight geography. He'll be like, I'm in art, or I'm doing a pencil case at ITD, or I'm making a dustpan, and he'll be able to see what you can do. But I thought it was important that it was here today because you can see that we finish school on Wednesday, the 1st of April, and your son has a science exam on Wednesday, the 1st of April. Thursday, the 2nd of April, is the end of term prior to Good Friday on the Friday. This will be available in your son's assembly team as well as a paper copy. And when you ring me and go, hey, we've got this plan, this is how I can say this is what we actually will be missing during this time. All right, Shane, NAPLAN.
So for NAPLAN, I'm sure it's not a new experience anymore. You have experienced it in year 3 and year 5. A letter has gone home late last week with all the details that you will need to know in preparation for NAPLAN. So here at St Brendan's, we will run the NAPLAN over 2 days. There is a test window of 9 days in 2026, but we will be running NAPLAN for your son in week 7 on the 10th and the 11th. So that'll all be prepared. It's a fairly well-oiled machine. The boys are well-versed and know exactly how that operates, because in week 5 we'll do an omnibus test. And essentially what that is it's a practice of what NAPLAN will look like. It's an experience of the setup on the computer and an experience of what to expect. And it'll be a sample of the sorts of questions that they'll be doing on the NAPLAN days. So the NAPLAN is, by default, all of your sons will be automatically enrolled in NAPLAN. However, as outlined in the letter that was sent home last week, there is opportunities there to have conversations with Tracy and I, and have conversations with the learning support to see how we can make adjustments if and where we can. And there is also obviously an opportunity for you as the parent to decide whether you want your son to do that. Okay? But by default, all boys will be doing, we expect all students to do the NAPLAN. The forms for NAPLAN don't come out until the 16th of February, that's next Monday. And then if you decide that there's some paperwork you would like to fill in, that does need to be back by the end of February, so we can go through that process of making the adjustments or putting in those withdrawal forms through the QCAA website. Everything relating to NAPLAN has been outlined in the letter. If you've got any questions about NAPLAN, you'd like to discuss it, you're most welcome to have a conversation with myself or Tracy after this afternoon. Or by all means, give us a call throughout the coming weeks, and we can certainly allay any fears and talk you through the process of what it looks like here. As I'm sure it's happened in the primary schools in recent years, it's all done online. So all the Year 7s will operate NAPLAN out of H Block that they're familiar with, and I believe there might be a couple of classes in L Block. And obviously our Year 9s do that as well, and that operates out of the hall. Okay, so if there are any questions, once again, by all means, you're most welcome to have a conversation afterwards. Just reading that PowerPoint as I look, I've covered all of that, yeah. So the other thing is obviously headphones. The boys, there is sections there where the boys will need headphones. So we encourage the boys to bring those. We will have headphones here, okay? Your son will not miss the exam because he did not bring his headphones that day, if that's the case. So there is some practice. You as a parent can go onto the ACARA website, and you can, if interested, do some additional practicing with your son prior to the exam. There's opportunities for you to have a look through that website, have a look at the sorts of questions that they will be asked within that exam happening in week 7. There's plenty of resources and materials there for you to peruse and have a conversation with about your son in relation to that. As I mentioned, we will be doing a practice test in week 5, a couple of weeks out from the official test. So your son will be well and truly across all the details. Okay? Thanks. Joe, you want to talk about this one? Want me to keep going?
You can keep going. Take a photo of this.
So like I said, we will send this one out as part of the PowerPoint, but this is probably a bit of a snapshot of all of the activities that will directly affect your son throughout the course of term 1. Now, obviously, when you go through online, you can see the college calendar. You will have received a college calendar, and there are lots of events. We're a very busy place. There's lots of things happening most days. However, what's in front of you there is a snapshot of all the things that will impact Year 7. Okay, so as we look through term 1, Tracy's already spoken to you this evening about photo day tomorrow and what that will look like. We've got our swimming carnival next Thursday. So students have had an opportunity to nominate for championship events for that, and there's lots of participation events they're most welcome to come along and be part of. There will be a sausage sizzle and an opportunity to purchase a drink as well on that day. If you would like your son to participate in that, they're most welcome to come down. I think it's going to be $3 for a sausage, $3 for a drink, or there's a meal deal, $5 for both. There is now, so it's official. So that's happening next Thursday. Next Friday, we have the Bishops in Service Day. So for those of you whose sons went to a state primary school. You may not be across it. Essentially, the Catholic schools in the Diocese of Rockhampton all participate on the same day in what's called a Bishops in Service Day. Essentially, it's religious development for all staff. The bishop gives an address and whatnot, and we'll be here as teachers on that day, but that is a student-free day for your sons. So we'll have the swimming carnival next Thursday, and then the following day, next Friday, your son will have an opportunity to get some of his assessment done at home. The catch-up photo day there, obviously tomorrow, we all anticipate being here, but we get sick, different things happen, and we appreciate and understand that sometimes boys aren't able to be here for the photo day. So as a college, we make sure there's an opportunity for a catch-up photo day, because the photo is also part of our system to identify students. It goes on their student IDs. So it is important that every student in the school does actually get a photo. So if for whatever reason your son wakes up tomorrow morning and he's not feeling well, do not panic. There'll be an opportunity on the 6th of March for him to catch up on a photo here at the college. And then failing that, there is an opportunity to get a photo whenever you like. You just need to take your son up to MSP in Rockhampton. I've spoke about NAPLAN there on the 11th and 12th, that's week 7, and then as Tracy mentioned, the last day of this term is Wednesday, the 1st of April. I won't go through all the events happening in terms 2, 3 and 4.
The only one I will speak about is in term 3, and I've bolded it. The 17th of September is St Brendan's Student Free Day. So in term 3, St Brendan's does not have a student free day the same day as every primary school or the state high school or St Ursula's. We have chosen to put our student free day on the last day of term to allow you to be able to have an extra day of holidays. So you just need to be really aware as a parent, if you do have little ones, Big Bro won't be able to look after them that day. So I think their student free day is like week 3 in term 3. So if you were counting on him to be a babysitter, you might need to start thinking about a few different plans, because it often gets quite confusing. But we've decided have an extra day holiday rather than come back to school, have a day off and keep going. So that is just one thing to flag tonight in your diary, so you are very aware of what's happening. Like I said, we do a lot more than just this, but this is just a snapshot of things that affects your son ultimately. And I know tonight has been a lot of information, and I thank you for being so patient with Shane and I while we try and say welcome to St Brendan's, welcome to high school, and this is what we do here. I don't want you to walk away from this tonight thinking you can't come and talk to us. I know high school is different to primary school, but our doors are open. You are more than welcome to pop on in the morning, say hello, see us at 3 o'clock, ring us, make an appointment to come and have a conversation. That's no problem at all. I do also need to let you know that Swimming Carnival, you are welcome to attend. You are more than welcome to come and watch the festival that will be on next week. It's a great night. There's some great loud music, and there's some swimming and probably dinner, so you don't have to go home and cook. Same with our cross country. That's an open event. You can come. Athletics Carnival, you can come. The only things that we restrict to invites are things that we do here inside this building. So Academic Assembly, which is on the 7th of August, if your son is getting an award, you will get an invitation. All right, so if you don't get an invite, probably don't have a seat saved for you. If you do think he should be getting one, because we publish all of our academic awards on the back of the report card. Same for our awards night. Again, that's invitation only. Most of those nights, this room is full and we have an overflow room of boys because we just don't fit in here. So whilst we are a high school and we are very different to primary school, we are still a school, and you are more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to pop in and see us, say hi in the grocery shop. I promise I'll wave, even if I don't quite recognise your face just yet. But you are more than welcome to come in, have conversations. All of our leadership team is available should you need to have a conversation. If you have any concerns about your son, the sooner you reach out, the better. right? If you are worried that he's worried about something, let us know. I would also say to you, if you have a rough morning, and sometimes mornings are a bit rough coming to school, just flick me an email and go, hey, we had a really big argument about who emptied the bin, he didn't do it. He's probably not going to be thinking ready for school. So if we know that something's happened, we can kind of go, well, okay, it's not about the class, it's not about the teacher, it's about the bin you didn't empty 2 hours ago, calm down, you'll be right, let's go back to school. So if you do need to let us know, please do. Like I said, we're available. If we don't email back, ring us and go, check your email, please, and we will get back to you. But that's it for the information tonight. If you want any questions that are to be asked, you can ask them tonight, or anybody who is at home, feel free to email through to either Shane or I, and we will get some questions answered for you. But thank you very much for coming. Don't forget ties tomorrow, and swimming carnival next week. Thanks very much, everyone.
If there are any questions you'd like to ask as a group, by all means, I'm just conscious we've got parents on the live stream, so if you've got a question you think might be relevant for all of us, by all means ask it. I'll repeat it through the microphone and I'll try and answer it. If not, have a good night. Thank you for coming.